Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to today's webcast, Take Quality Products to Market Faster with Enterprise-Ready Dynamic Languages, brought to you by Dr. Dobb, ActiveState, and United Business Media, LLC. I'm Mary Windishar, today's announcer, and here are just a few announcements before we begin. This webcast will be interactive between you and our presenters. Later in the program, we'll ask for your feedback. This event contains audience polling. The polling questions will appear in the slide presentation window. Please complete the polls when they appear and click on the Submit Answer button located right there on the polling slide window after you've finished. Thanks in advance for your participation. And speaking of participation, you can participate in the Q&A session by asking questions at any time during the presentation. Just type them into the Ask a Question text area below the video window and then click the Submit button. At this time, we recommend you disable your pop-up blockers. The slides will advance automatically throughout the event. You can also download a copy of the slides by clicking on the Download Slide button located below the presentation window. If you're experiencing any technical problems, please visit our webcast help guide by clicking on the Help link below the media player. In addition, you can contact our technical support helpline, which is also located in the webcast help guide. Now on to the presentation, Take Quality Products to Market Faster with Enterprise-Ready Dynamic Languages. Discussing today's topic will be Larry Backman, VP of Quality Assurance, Security and Compliance Business Unit, CA Incorporated. Larry has been involved in a variety of software development environments since the days of Apple II and the IBM PC. In a 30-year career, he's worked on projects and systems from 3720 emulators, routers, protocol stack, web applications, and end-tier enterprise security software. Currently, Larry is focused on driving quality as far upstream in the product development cycle as possible by using many forms of automation to directly tie automated regression testing to the code change, check-in, and management process. Also speaking today, we have Jeff Hobbs, Director of Engineering, ActiveState. Jeff oversees development of all ActiveState products, from language distributions to development tools and web-based solutions. Though he is responsible for leading and fostering a talent development team, Jeff is a coder at heart, and Tickle and TK are his passion. He's been a member of the Tickle core team for more than a decade and is the primary author of popular modules and extensions, including TK Table, TK Con, TLS, and Tickle VFS. He also maintains part of the Tickle TK core, and Jeff is a co-author of Practical Programming in Tickle and TK, and he regularly publishes papers on the topic. So welcome to Larry and to Jeff. Our agenda today includes the following: some introductions, CA's story with Perl, open source licensing considerations, growth of dynamic languages, value of dynamic languages, and an overview of ActiveState's dynamic languages solutions, and, of course, Q&A. That part's all about you, our audience. In fact, let's talk about you a little bit more with our first polling question of the day. What is the single largest pressure today in a development environment? We're going to add even more pressure by asking you to just choose one here. The pressure to reduce costs, to know more languages, to get products to market faster, pressure to complete engineering milestones on schedule, to reduce the number of bugs, or to add new features. To take our poll, please click your answer right there on the slide itself, and then once you've done that, hit the Submit Answer button. So once again, we're pressuring you to tell us about your pressures. What is the single largest pressure today in a development environment? And answer us, please, by clicking your answer on the slide itself. And after you've done that, hit the Submit Answer button. Our answers are coming in, and the choices are between reducing costs, getting to know more languages, getting products to market faster, completing engineering milestones on schedule, reducing the number of bugs, or adding new features. Once again, hit your answer right there on the slide itself, and after you've done that, hit the Submit Answer button. And here are our results. Well, it looks like about 29% of you are saying the biggest pressure is to get more products to market faster. The next biggest pressure is to reduce costs. And then after that, pressure to complete engineering milestones on schedule is what appears to be the pressure you're all dealing with, at least third. And with that, I'm going to introduce you to our first presenter. This is Larry Backman. He is actually in the West County of England, so don't be surprised if he's speaking with an English accent today. Hello, Larry.
Hello. I'm glad to see that the pressure to reduce bugs was right down at the bottom. I'm going to talk about how we use ActiveState Perl to do our best to reduce bugs. A little background. I work for Computer Associates. We are a very large software vendor, 30-plus years in the business, $4 billion in revenue. There's over 100 major products in this company, and the product that I work on is, I see we have latency from the West Country, is called SiteMinder Web Access Manager. SiteMinder is one of, if not the leading web access single sign-on solution. What is that? If you log on to a financial portal, a healthcare, or a major wireless provider, you're probably logging on using SiteMinder. What does SiteMinder do? It does three very simple things. Who are you? What do you have access to? And later on, it's writing a log as to what you have or haven't accessed. Obviously, a mission-critical security product. The challenges we had is that as this product became more and more successful in the market, we are middleware. We sit between databases, we sit between directories, we sit between operating systems, and we sit between web servers and app servers. Our platform support matrix is enormous. When you take our server-side offerings by our client side, by web servers, by app servers, by directories, and so on and so forth, our platform support matrix is easily calculated in the thousands. One of the business problems, again, as we started to succeed, was our customers said, we need a certification of Apache 205 on HP Linux 11i. We need a certification of IBM Domino Notes on AIX version something or other. Each of these certifications took time. How do we reduce the cost of doing those certifications, get product to market fast and with quality? Okay, so let's talk a little about Perl. When we started in 2001, as the product turned from kind of a concept to a success in the market, we needed a test methodology to build out the product. We'd expanded exponentially both the customer base and the platform matrix, and unfortunately quality was variable at that point in time. We had, and we still have, a very rich C++ client-server API. Any object in the system, any event in the system, you can get at it through C++. We did a good job of writing to it. Our customer base didn't. Our services couldn't. So basically, we were limited by the amount of code we could generate ourselves, not where you want to be with a market that is expanding as rapidly as our market was. We needed to wrap that API in something that was simple. We needed to wrap that API in something that was portable. We needed to wrap that API in something that was supportable. And we needed to provide this language for a variety of customers, internally for our QA organization, customer-facing to our services organization who was delivering product to the customer, and also to our CA customer base, who was writing to that API or developing their own custom authorization and authentication schemes. Why Perl? Really, we started with the platform matrix. At the time, 2001, 2002, there were a variety, and there still are a variety of languages. Perl was the one that, came right to the top in terms of going across our breadth of platform. Windows, Solaris, HPUX, AIX, Linux, ZOS, as we expanded into the mainframe at CA, various different types of mainframe flavor. You could put Perl in any one of those. Our agents, the client side, had the same issue, except that now it got into operating system versioning, Windows 2000, Windows 2003, Solaris 8, Solaris 9, Solaris 10. We needed something that we could take and put onto any platform as it became available. We looked initially at open source Perl and looked at it very seriously. We really had two issues from a business perspective. First, it did not scale. We use this, and I'll get into this in a bit, for test automation in addition to being able to write custom code. The test automation, among other things, had to scale. As we were expanding the product, as we were expanding the customer base, our typical scale went from thousands of users to tens of thousands of users to hundreds of thousands of users. We conducted a test about 2 years ago with a 100 million user database. To do so, we used ActiveState Perl. We created 1,000 threads, and we started firing away and creating one user after another and hammering on the server with those Perl threads. Open source did not scale. Open source also had some serious multi-threading issues. We were highly scalable, fault-tolerant, and clustered environment. We needed both symmetrical multi-processing. Back in 2001, 2002, that wasn't really solidly supported with open source, and we needed the platform support. The other thing that we found as we talked to our customers' financials is they did not want open source licensing on their mission critical, on their production servers. They wanted a fully supported product. So we needed a solid, trusted version of Perl that was both enterprise and distribution ready. Okay. So why did we choose ActiveState Perl? We started, as with everything, with a developer picking up Perl and putting an API together. As we started looking at the business case, we moved from open source into ActiveState. We've been very happy with it for a variety of reasons. It came enterprise ready. It came scalable. It came with a distribution package that allowed us to put it onto any platform as our platform matrix grew. We didn't have to relicense. We didn't have to renegotiate terms. We took ActiveState. We put it into our distribution kit. Out it went. So it was a very simple model for us as our platform base expanded to expand with ActiveState. Important to us also was support. We rarely had problems, I'd say past the first couple of years. We rarely called for bugs, but if we did, ActiveState was there. It was critical to us if an issue came up. We're in financial, we're in mission critical. We couldn't go figure it out ourselves. We didn't have time. So we had a solid support model behind us. And now I think we have a poll question.
That is correct. Our next poll question is, what is the single most important reason you use a dynamic language? For example, Perl or Python or Tickle. So your choices are, and once again we'd like you to choose just one, speed of development, ease of use, or low cost. This time please also click your answer right there on the slide itself, and then hit Submit Answer once you've done that. Question again is, what is the single most important reason you use a dynamic language? And, for example, we've got Perl, Python, and Tickle. And your choices are speed of development, ease of use, low cost. And then, of course, once you've done that, hit the Submit Answer button. We're also inviting you to participate at any time in our question and answer section of the event. And to do that, all you have to do is type your question into the Ask a Question text area, which you'll find below the video window, and then click the Submit button. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the poll results. The question was, what is the single most important reason you use a dynamic language? And speed of development is the number one reason that people want to use a dynamic language, 47%, and ease of use comes in second. And there's your next slide, Larry.
Okay, so that's interesting. Speed of development and ease of use, those were, I'm waiting for my next slide. those were, in a nutshell, why we ended up with Perl and why we've been able to succeed with it. I'll get into in a little bit our test environment, but we, conservatively build this product. We make 28 builds a night. Everything is automated. We run between 10 and 15,000 tests on each of those builds, all going through a portal. We've developed this test suite and the test harness and the test environment and the portal bit by bit by bit. But the ability to do this quickly, efficiently, was critical in the Perl selection. So this picture, which is kind of hard to see, talks about our product. On the left-hand side, you see SiteMinder, which is like any other complex enterprise application, a multi-tier application. I don't represent here the clustering and the failover and the replication in this, but be assured that any one of those boxes could be 3 boxes or could be 3 clusters of 3 boxes with links to failover and all sorts of other good stuff. So big enterprise environment. If you took it to a financial, you'd probably see 15 machines on the left-hand side. So that's what the customer sees. What do? We have to release this thing every year, and we do maintenance on a monthly basis. We have a team of about 100 people checking in code. Risk in a security product is a bad thing. We have to be able to assure what we check in is both good, which, that's what we do QA on, but also that it doesn't regress. So over time, as I mentioned earlier, we've built up an array of over 10,000 server-side tests, 4,000 client-side tests, and 2,000 federation tests, federation being when you link multiple single sign-on applications together from, say, one company to another. So when you log on to your home portal and then you go and click on your 401k or click on your medical benefits, that's federation. Are you secure, when your credentials go from one to another? These are all important questions. They're all quality questions. If there's a security gap, someone's liable. So it's critical. It's been critical to us in building this business, in building this product. The quality was sacrosanct. Regressions were unacceptable. I'm sure everyone who's done software development knows the embarrassment and pain of releasing a product and breaking something that was fixed before. We can't afford that. The platform matrix is enormous. The nightly builds, 28 builds, we had to be sure that when we made changes that we didn't break AIX, HP, many different platforms had to be tested nightly. So on the right-hand side, what you see is a very simple diagram of a complex environment built over time. As an example of the complexity, we have about 400 machines running nightly automation, virtual machines at this point, because we've moved from physical machines to VMware over time. We drive vServer through Perl and Ant as an example. What happens? Every night you get a build, and the build synchronizes across a number of platforms. When the build is complete, they kick off automation streams. As I mentioned earlier, we have 28 builds, and we're kicking 28 automation streams off. That automation drives VMware to grab a series of virtual machines, set those up with an operating system, provision that operating system with whatever third-party environment configuration is needed, and then drops a nightly build on it. No surprise, it silently installs the product, configures the product, sets up the linkages, whether it's clustering, whether it's to a database, whether it's to a directory. So at the end of it, you have, for each nightly build, you have about 3 or 4 machines all lined up in a row, ready to go, running SiteMinder. We then bring up our nightly test harness, drop that onto the machine, all written in Perl, all 10,000 to 15,000 tests, laboriously written, modularly written in Perl. We do all sorts of things. We drive SQL through Perl. We drive HTTP through Perl. We do security scans through Perl. As I mentioned, we drive VMware through Perl. Some little control in the build interfaces through Ant, but this whole thing, which 10,000 tests, equal amount of harness side code, probably 100,000 lines, all written in Perl, all very well commented, all very well maintained. The end result of this, and I'll slip on to the next slide, is a portal that again is very hard to see, but the goal of this portal is very simple. When every night at midnight we kick off a build. When people walk in at 9 a.m., we want to see results. As we've moved from the company that we were to CA, we've developed a global development environment. We have teams in the U.S., we have teams in India. We also have a limited team in the UK, which I'm visiting right now. This portal is where a developer or QA person goes in the morning. The first thing they do is have a look. What was I paying attention to? What did I change? What are the results? Did we get our normal 100% pass? Did we get 98.2%? In which case, why did it go from 100 down 2%? Should I go look into it? And this portal is the front end of a series of clicks that will take us down into test results, into test files, and ultimately into build results and error logs coming out of the product. So from this portal, we can drill our way all the way down to the actual issue and the actual event logs itself. What's important about this from a management perspective? Unfortunately, my coding days are a ways in the past, but as a manager and a quality manager over the years, the sooner we can find a bug that was injected, the sooner we can find a defect, the quicker and more efficient it is to fix. The worst thing, and again, this is years of experience talking, the worst thing that can happen is you have 4 or 5 people checking in 4 or 5 days in a row. You haven't run tests. You hand off a build to QA. QA picks up the build. In our model right now, parts of QA are in India, so there's a time lag to QA to pick up the build. They get into the build, and oops, there's a blocking bug. You've just lost a day. The clock is ticking. They file a bug. By the time the developer in the U.S. sees it, he asks a question, the person's gone home, we've now lost a second day. That is cost. That is time to market. So being able to quickly discern defects as they're injected and quickly recover from those defects is a critical part of our quality model here. Moving forward, let's talk a little about our maintenance stream. We typically we have 2 to 3 code lines in the field at any point in time. We have the one where the new product and 2 maintenance streams. We're making somewhere between 10 and 20 fixes a month. Complex enterprise product, threading issues, data connectivity issues, security issues, high risk. Have to be able to make sure that we catch regressions when they're injected into that maintenance stream. The new product is exciting. Everyone's thrilled about the new product, but maintenance is where the bread and butter is. Your time to the field in a maintenance stream from a bug fix may be measured in, if you're lucky, in weeks. Sometimes it's measured in days, whereas a new product, it may be measured in months or years before a customer deploys it. Since we're running in financials, we make a bug fix, the customer has reported a critical issue, the customer has taken a maintenance release and put it on. They may be deploying that in a matter of weeks. We can't afford a regression in that because it's going direct to production. My experience over the years has moved through all the facets of the development life cycle. I'm responsible for quality in the security business unit at CA at the moment. One of the points that I make constantly internally, is that we have to move quality leftwards in the development cycle. We don't have enough testers. We cannot possibly test this product or any other of our CA products. The breadth of the products, the breadth of the platform matrix, the complexity of the products is such that it's impossible to throw more testers at it. You have to be able to move that quality leftwards in the product life cycle. The sooner we can find the defect, the earlier we find it in the development cycle, the less our cost is. In my quality side of the business, I can pull statistics from both quality presentations and CMMI presentations that show that the cost of quality goes up exponentially the later it's found. Very simply, if you find a defect in a requirement spec, it may cost you $150, an hour of labor to fix it. If you find a defect in a design, it may cost you a day to do. If you find the defect in code, it might cost you a week. But where things get extraordinarily expensive is when you find a defect in the field. I'm quoting from memory, but I believe our cost is in the order of $14,000 for any defect which is found in the field. And I also have a other statistic which says that a critical escalation, a customer down issue, with executives involved, might be upwards of $100,000 in cost. So, from a business management perspective, the earlier we can find those bugs, the earlier we can address them, the more cost effective we are. So to summarize some of the key points here, what does ActivePerl do for us? It helps us find that regression within 24 hours. It lowers the cost of quality. It's also improving the quality of SiteMinder by helping us assure that we're not regressing. It also, not mentioned in this slide, gives us a modular framework so that as we develop new code, as we develop new features, part and parcel of our development processes, congratulations, Mr. Developer. In addition to writing your code, you get to write the first 3 test cases in Perl and hand it over to QA to build out. So, we've integrated this into our entire software development life cycle. It's not just a test environment. Reiterating what I just said, it's an efficiency of operation. It allows us to deliver our fixes faster, resolve problems in the field quickly, and feel comfortable that when we resolve them, we haven't regressed. And it maintains, it keeps our costs down. We can't afford, as our platform matrix goes up, to continually hire people. We can't afford 2 more people for Linux and 2 more people for SUSE, and 2 more for HPUC. So it's critical to us to have this type of framework, this multi-platform framework. So again, once more, same slide, another way, it's saving us time, it's saving us effort, and it's saving us development dollars. I also should mention that I don't think we've ever had an issue with Perl not going onto a platform, and that's a rare thing. In this multi-platform environment today, is being able to take a module and have it support your entire platform matrix. We have a number of third-party pieces that fit into the product. It's always a complex problem as you go into some of the esoteric combinations to get that support matrix. And finally, it allows us to do what makes us revenue. We focus on working on SiteMinder. We're focused on our code. We're focused on our product. We're not worried about porting our tools, porting our harness, writing harness in 7 different platforms. We're focused on the product itself. That's where the business value is. That's where the customer value is, and that's what's paying our salary going forward. We don't get paid to write more tools. We don't get paid to write more harnesses. We get paid to make the product better than anything else. So our engineering focus is where it should be, not on maintaining tools. And again, another cut of the same message that we are not maintaining the tools. We're not maintaining the platform matrix. It's covered by our partners, ActiveState. So we're focusing our development cycle on our product. So again, four key points. It allows us simply the 10,000 test cases we've developed over time. Very modular, very clean, very easy to maintain. Most importantly, very easy to hand over to someone and say, here's the 3 test cases the developer created. Here's the add. Here's the delete. Here's the modify. You need to go build this out to 10 test cases or 100 test cases. That's your job. So we get that ability to hand off from developer to QA. Platform independence, scalability, and when we've needed it, which really hasn't been, I can't remember the last time we've had to make the call. We have Perl expertise behind us with our partners at ActiveState. And I believe there's a poll question coming up.
That's correct. There's another poll question for our audience. That question is, do you currently buy both support and indemnification for the dynamic languages that you use? So you got 3 choices here, yes, no, or I don't know. I'll go over that question one more time just so that everybody has a chance to weigh in. The question is, do you currently buy both support and indemnification for the dynamic languages that you use? Yes, no, and don't know. Weigh in by clicking your answer on the slide itself and then hit submit answer. Several of you have told us that your circumstances differed in the question and answer interface, and that's fine too. It's good to have a discussion. So we're interested in what you're experiencing, but if you do have the answer yes or no or don't know to do you currently buy both support and indemnification for the dynamic languages you use, you can let us know by hitting the answer on the slide itself and then hitting submit answer. We'll go ahead and take a look at our results now. The question again, do you currently buy both support and indemnification for the dynamic languages you use? And the biggest answer is no. About 59% are saying no, and 36% are saying we don't know. We'll go ahead and get you started, Larry, and thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm not sure I like that I don't know. I could be argued at this point in time in 2010, you might be able to convince me that open source may be viable. Our customer base has always said we really don't want open source in a security product. Thank you very much. We want a safe redistribution package, and we want a safe redistribution package, and thank you very much. If there are issues, we also want someone that we can call along with you who's going to support it. So my experience in the field we're in, and the business model we're in, is that open source is great for some things. It's not for our environment. We absolutely need that commercially available redistribution package. And likewise, from a business perspective, this is something you can charge for. You can charge for support. And finally, we are a security product. Our customers are liable for security violations. This is a concern for us. So open source really never entered into that equation. We do not put any open source in our product. At this point, I'm going to hand this over to Jeff Hobbs, who's director at ActiveState, and let him take it from here.
Thanks, Larry. So we've seen Larry talk about how CA successfully developed and deployed a dynamic language solution using Perl in particular. Let me now tell you about ActiveState and what else we do to help ensure CA and others achieve their success using dynamic languages. First off, we were founded in 1997, so we've been around a ways, and started by providing Perl on Windows. Windows was not the most friendly platform for dynamic languages at the time, and since then we've branched out with Python, Tickle, and other languages, as well as across other platforms, so as Larry mentioned multi-platform support is very important for modern development, and we cover everything from the common Mac, Windows, and Linux to Solaris, HP, and AIX. We have about 2 million developers that are using ActiveState products. Among those is including 97% of the Fortune 1000. We provide products and services for the basic end-to-end management, development, and distribution of applications with the dynamic languages. I'll just be describing those in more detail later. Our products are used everywhere from open source software to mission-critical applications. Of the dynamic languages that we'll be referring to, our core competencies are in Perl, Python, and Tcl. We also have expertise in PHP, Ruby, JavaScript, and web technologies like CSS, XML, XSLT, etc. So, let me explain some of the drivers and trends for dynamic languages. And some of these apply across the board, but we've definitely been seeing increased interest with dynamic languages of late. First off, in the IT side, is faster time to market. Now, this was also echoed by the listeners, 30% of whom noted that the single largest pressure is needing to get product to market quickly. The higher level programming aspects and rapid prototyping features of the dynamic languages really help you get your products to market faster. The next is generally increased use in mainstream IT. Many of these trends that you'll see are the reason for that. But starting with Perl, which was popular among sysadmins for 20 years now and was really the first web dynamic language, the other dynamic languages have built on that and increased their popularity across an entire spectrum of development tasks. Next is the pressure to increase development staff productivity. And this was mentioned as well in the poll question, where the top reason that people are using dynamic languages, almost half said development speed. And really, dynamic languages do allow you to get the product out faster and make better use of your development staff. And times are tough, so it's really important that you're able to leverage your own internal expertise in the most efficient way possible. So leading to the next point, of course, lowering development and maintenance costs, which 24% responded as being their single largest pressure point. And then following on that is, of course, the fact that you can do more with less using dynamic languages. As far as uptime goes, dynamic languages have proven their general stability and development value over time. They now can be found in numerous critical applications in enterprise and government use. On the business and government side for drivers and trends, based on the trends to the left, we have seen a paradigm shift where open source acceptance in business has become more prevalent. There's an increased usage of open source software. Doesn't mean the enterprise expectations for support and maintenance falls by the wayside, though. So if you have compliance needs and corporate policy that says you really need support, then that's changing the use model of open source and putting more pressure on providers to provide something for that. Another one is legal risk mitigation, which is a very important topic in open source because open source software comes under a myriad set of licenses. You're walking a legal jungle, which can be very difficult and confusing if you don't have someone to assist you in figuring that out. That's tied, of course, to intellectual property security. Overall, in business and government, you do want IT investment protection. You want to protect those investments that you've made in your original development while still being able to leverage the advantages of open source software's cost and dynamic language cost and development. Talk a bit about dynamic language's popularity. following on the trends, we see a glimpse here on the recent surge of the popularity of dynamic languages. Much like Linux in the open source space, dynamic languages have been blazing trails in the corporate space for years. At ActiveState, we've known this for many years, and with dynamic language use in enterprise and government. But that was often, done under the table or behind locked doors, and the knowledge of it wasn't as common. Here we see some numbers that come from a Dr. Dobbs article in January 2010, written by Jeffrey Hammond of Forrester, and the title was "What Developers Think." He focuses on 7 points in developer interests that management may or may not be aware of, what their developers are really thinking. And one of them related to open source adoption, showing that 57% of enterprises are using Perl, Python, PHP, and other dynamic languages. Well, we actually know the number is higher, but it just indicates, and if you read the full article, which is quite interesting, it does indicate that management's not always aware of these under-the-table technologies that are being brought in. And it's very important to become aware of these because you don't want to be bitten by a support nightmare later on. Another interesting point in this article was that especially younger developers are drawn to dynamic languages. So as the new generation of developers come in, they bring in the newer technologies. So why the growth? Well, if we refer back to the drivers, we see where dynamic languages can deliver. They do provide a faster time to market. You can certainly develop quality applications. Sometimes you need improved tools and such to do that. ActiveState does provide those. Overall, your organization can get increased productivity through the use of dynamic languages. They deliver value in numerous ways. Some of the key points are flexible and extensible nature of dynamic languages. You can generate clean, reliable, and reusable code. Some people make the joke that some of these languages are very messy and inherently hard to read, but I guarantee that you can make core code in any language. They are excellent for data processing and web apps development. This is super true for Perl, Python, PHP, which have been used for years on the back end for data manipulation and management. And there's a very large library of turnkey modules ready for deployment and use in any organization. If you take our ActivePerl, for example, our Perl package repository mechanism has over 10,000 modules pre-compiled and ready to use for whatever development needs you have. So we've established that dynamic languages are definitely just where it's at. Let me now talk about some of the ActiveState solutions that ensure success for dynamic languages projects. We break them down into 3 areas. There's development, management, and distribution. Under development, we're dealing with the end-to-end development of dynamic languages, so we have tools that support each area. And under management, this is really for the development or IT manager who has to worry about how you're going to maintain a stable development environment and make sure what you're building now is going to be extensible in 5 years and still supportable in 10 years in some cases. And then, of course, there's distribution. So you need to finally push your product out, and we have solutions there. So we'll see this broken out more on the next slide. So here's our product stack or tool chain, if you will, to support development with dynamic languages. So you can view the stack either top down or bottom up. As a developer at heart, I usually take the bottom up approach, but you can see it from the dev manager perspective, and see the top down view will also show the important aspects of support of and for ongoing development that they're all covered. So at the bottom we have, of course, the distributions across the stacks here, being our core competencies. There's Perl, Tickle, Python listed, and then Ruby, JavaScript, and PHP, which we also have solutions for. Starting at the bottom, our distributions, as Larry mentioned, it's ActiveState Perl or ActivePerl, then ActiveTickle and ActivePython. These are the base upon which people do their development and extend, and we provide those so nobody has to worry about figuring out how to run the configure and make, keep everything up to date, worry about what security patches you might need to add, and in general alleviate you from a whole mess of build management issues. On top of that, the PPM, TPOT, and PyPM, those are our package repositories, which give you access to hundreds and thousands of modules that will extend your programming language needs to connect to whatever thing you might be using in terms of middleware, for example, databases or LDAP and the like. As we move further up the stack, the next thing you need to worry about, of course, is, well, how are you going to code this? So we provide Komodo Edit or IDE, which is basically the best integrated development environment for dynamic languages. We've taken our expertise with dynamic languages and put that into an IDE with the understanding that you want the best debugger, and it needs to adapt to the dynamic nature of the languages. So you have interactive interpreters and call types and all sorts of tool sets that really makes development much easier with the dynamic languages, whether you're a beginning user or an expert. In addition to that, we provide lots of resources for the use of dynamic languages. ASPN is the ActiveState Programmers Network. We have a code recipe site, mailing lists, community forums, bugs area, all the documentation, all listed in one place. So Safari Bookshelf, that's the O'Reilly online Safari Bookshelf, available with our Pro Studio products. That provides access to thousands of books for your reading online, and you can actually swap out which books are actually on the bookshelf. So if you need reference materials on anything from just general coding design to actual usage of the dynamic languages, you can look those books up on the O'Reilly Safari Bookshelf and read them online. Firefly being our project management system as a software as a service offering online that allows people to use to develop and manage their code online with others. The development kits provide much deeper integration with the languages, and really for when you start to get into deep usage of Perl or Tickle, then the development kits have all the tools that are at your beck and call. When it comes to the manager's perspective, well, there's a lot more about team development and product development than just the code. We provide training, professional services where you need it, and in particular the Business Edition, Enterprise Edition are the support offerings, which I'll talk about in a second. And finally, at the top of the stack is distribution. That's your final point. You've made a product, now you want to distribute it, but you want to make sure you're alleviated from any of the licensing hassles that Larry mentioned before. That's our OEM offering. So on to the next slide. We have, and again, as part of the managed portion, the support for the technologies you use is critical, and our support options cover the full range of use from open source to enterprise applications. And as Larry said, organizations want to focus on original development. They want to leverage their own expertise to develop products that their customers want, and they don't want to worry about build management or support headaches for the underlying core technologies which they'd like to leverage. It's great that the open source dynamic languages are there, and there's been tens and sometimes hundreds of man years that's been invested in them, but they are very complex products, and they do allow you to develop your product and get it to market faster, but sometimes you get little glitches and you have IP licensing headaches that you might hit that ActiveState is trying to alleviate for you. In the first column, you see Community Edition. This is our completely free offering, which offers you the latest version of the languages, precompiled, ready to use, with access to the package repositories for Windows, Linux, and Mac OS X. So we're basically trying to assist anybody in the community who is using these languages and on all of the commodity operating systems. The next is Business Edition. We're starting to getting into a market aspect of business-critical applications. So these might not be mission-critical, but you are using it and you want to make sure that it does work for your needs. And this is especially useful where you're using some of the big iron platforms and being Solaris, HPUX, and AIX. We also allow them their access to all the older versions because sometimes you've developed and done a lot of testing on on a particular version of the language, and it might actually take you 6 months to do that testing. So you're not going to actually upgrade for several years in the cycle, and Business Edition allows you entry into that. And of course, there's commercial support provided for that. Stepping into the next level, in Enterprise Edition, when you're talking about mission-critical applications, you need much better SLAs. You need much more interaction with the expertise that will allow you to ensure your mission-critical applications are rock solid. And that's what the Enterprise Edition provides for you. In addition to that, it provides indemnification, which relates to the intellectual property worries that Larry mentioned before. Capping it off is the OEM offerings. So, of course, we have all these distributions, and if you want to make sure you're leveraging that internally, you might just use it for internal tool development. But if you're using it externally, then we allow you to get all the support you need as well as distributing it all to your end customers so that you can be sure that you're using the best technology stack available and leveraging all of the development advantages that dynamic languages provide and pushing that all the way through. So next slide here is just a little overview of some of our customers and partners. The key aspect here is that we do partner to participate in keeping with the leading edge of technology changes to make sure that the dynamic languages are keeping pace with tomorrow's development needs as well as today's. So that's about it, and I'd like to thank you all for your time. You can see at the link provided here to get complimentary white paper on the webinars, the complimentary white papers on unveiling the origins, myths, and use of and benefits of dynamic languages. And
probably time for me to take back over again.
Yeah.
I want to say thanks to you, Jeff, and also to Larry for your informative presentations. As we begin with today's Q&A, please fill out the feedback form that has opened on your computer, and to complete that form, please press the Submit Answer button, which you'll find at the bottom of the page. Thanks in advance for filling out the feedback form. Your participation in the survey helps us to improve future webcasts. And now on to the question and answer portion of our event. As a reminder, to participate in the Q&A, just type your question into the text box located below the media player and then click the Submit Question button. We'll try to get as many of these in as we can. How about this one for you, Jeff? Mark says, does ActiveState provide support for those modules in the event a company has questions about its use?
Yes, the enterprise offerings that we have provide some extended modules that may not be in the community editions. And indeed, the business edition is very much similar to the community edition, with a few extra modules might be available, but pretty much adds support. Enterprise edition is a fully customized solution. So if you're needing support for modules that may not even be available in our repositories, we do provide that for customers.
I want to put you on the spot here about answering questions we may not be able to get to during the Q&A session. Will you be able to answer them after the event?
Yes.
Okay, thanks so much. All right, this is for you, Larry. It doesn't sound like CA ships any Perl as part of SiteMinder. It sounds like Perl is used to test the product only. Charles wants to know if that's correct.
Oh, no, absolutely. The Perl distribution is part of the product. It provides what we call our CLI, our command line interface to the product. So we ship both the product with the C++ API and the Perl wrapper, and it's absolutely part of the standard distribution. The tests are not shipped with the product.
Thank you very much. Here's Matthew's question. Perl no longer seems to be a scripting language of choice for new work. Does that mean you'll eventually move away from it, as presumably there will be fewer skills on the market? Jeff, you want to take this one?
That's an interesting question, and one which is a perception that's not accurate with reality. We're actually working to release Perl 5 version 12 for 5.12. And it is actively developed. There was a long hiatus as there was a lot of development on Perl 6 that distracted the community. But it is certainly an actively developed language which we continue to plan on supporting and assisting others in new development. Whether you choose that for your new development over the wealth of other languages, the entire ecosystem has grown, and languages such as Python have become quite popular. And we do, of course, provide the same level of support for Python as we do for Perl, and which one you really want to use is actually dependent on the kind of application you're developing. And of course, you're welcome to talk to us to understand the value and use case differences between them, because it will depend on what you're developing.
Let's look at Dennis's question. Can ActivePerl 5.10.1 be copied to any directory, or does it have to be relocated? He has a follow-up to that question, too. If you still have to relocate Perl 5.10, then can a copy of Perl relocate to itself?
The installer for ActivePerl requests what directory that you want to install into, and it has to do some binary patching at install time. You can choose any directory at install time. We do also provide a script which allows for the relocation of it, but you do have to run the script because, of course, it does need to binary patch again. We do recommend that people just choose the right directory at install time, and you can't just copy it around because there are certain references that are kept in the binaries that need to be updated.
Thank you very much, both to Jeff and to Larry, and thank you to our audience for attending today's webcast. Take quality products to market faster with enterprise-ready dynamic languages. Brought to you by Dr. Dobbs, ActiveState, and United Business Media, LLC. If you asked a question that we didn't get to today, an ActiveState representative will follow up with you directly. Shortly after the live event, you can access this presentation on demand by visiting www.techweb.com/webcast. Or you can wait for the email that will be coming soon with your own personalized on-demand link. For more information, please visit any of the links that are open before you now, including the link to download your complimentary white paper. This webcast is copyright 2010 by United Business Media, LLC. Presentation materials are owned by or copyrighted, if that is the case, by Dr. Dobbs and ActiveState, who are solely responsible for their content, and the individual speakers are solely responsible for their content and their opinions. On behalf of our guests, Lawrence Backman, I should have said Larry, sorry about that, and Jeff Hobbs, thank you for your time and have a great day. I'm Mary Windishar.